welcome to the lesson. Chris here. A while back I got an email from a viewer named John. Shout out to John, this was a great question. He was asking about the taste jam and this kind of vibe and sound that Trey seems to shift into. So for this lesson, we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on and what Trey's up to in this jam. But just before we get into it here, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you find this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it, and all that good stuff. To set up the foundation for all this, let me read the question from John, and then we'll dig into it. He said, "Did you notice in the later portion of the Character Zero jam on New Year's Eve," he later realized he meant to say taste, "that Trey went into this Middle Eastern type scale? It was probably my favorite moment of the run as far as Trey's improvising went. In a way, it sounds Mixolydian to me, yet more Middle Eastern sounding at the same time." John, I know exactly what you're talking about. I love the sound in this jam. And to kind of tee it up, let's listen to the clip he sent me, and then we'll dig into it. Now, even though our focus is going to be on what Trey's doing, I think the best place to start is to listen to what the keys and the bass are doing. So if we really listen to what Page is doing, it sounds like he's playing a D major at first, and then at some point, it sounds like he's going to what I first thought was a G minor, and it has a B flat in it, so I think that's mostly why I heard it that way, and I hear a D in there. But if you listen to Mike Gordon on the bass, he's going D, and then he's hitting an E flat at certain points. So that's kind of interesting. What that makes me think is that that G minor I was hearing was really the upper structure of maybe like an E flat major 7 chord. So this actually is a huge clue to tell us what's going on. So long story short, the best thing to do is ask ourselves, okay, is there a key that we can think of or a situation where we can find a D or a D7 kind of thing? Because Trey's playing a C natural, so that makes me think it's more Mixolydian like John was saying. And yet we've got an E flat with the bass, and then I'm hearing a G minor. I think that what's happening here is this vibe that we're hearing is Phrygian dominant. So I'm going to make the case that the key that I think best contains all these different sounds together would be the key of B flat, but with a big caveat, and that is that I'm talking about not just B flat major, but B flat 6th diminished. Some of you guys may have heard me talk about Barry Harris and the 6th diminished scale before. In case you haven't, I'm going to do a little deep dive into it because it's kind of necessary to set the scene for this jam. Let's go to the 6th fret of the low E string, and that's a B flat. Now the 6th diminished scale is just the major scale plus a sharp 5. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, throw in a sharp 5, 6, 7, and then you can run it back. It is true that that is the scale I think everything is coming from, or that best describes where things are coming from, but that's not really the way I would use it. I would use it to kind of get all the chords out of that key, and this is where things get really interesting. So that sharp 5 that I mentioned, what that gives us in the key of B flat is the Phrygian position can now become a dominant chord, because if you do the normal diatonic family of B flat, it would be B flat major 7, C sharp minor 7, D minor 7. Actually, I'm going to keep going for a minute. Then let's say E flat major 7. And then over here we would have an F7, a G minor, an A half diminished, and then B flat. So all is well and good with that, and that sounds beautiful and everything. But if we look at that note that we added with the 6th diminished scale, it's an F sharp. And so Phrygian normally is a minor 7 chord like we just were looking at. But what happens if we take that F natural that's normally in it and replace it with an F sharp, we get a dominant chord. And what's more is that Phrygian also contains a flat 2 and it has a flat 6, and a flat 7, I should say. So it's got this really amazing sound. When you put it all together, if you take that 6th diminished scale I showed and just start on the 3rd note, so 1, 2, 3, that's a D, then you would get this. Now I'm going to get rid of the minor 3rd and play it like this, and this will be more of the vibe that we're getting from this jam. wouldn't necessarily totally throw away that F natural, the minor third of D, because at a certain point you can hear Trey play off of the blues scale or the minor pentatonic, and then kind of toggles back into the major third. So the best part is that you really can get that kind of salty, sweet major and minor vibe, and you get a flat 2, and you get this minor 6, which creates all kinds of implications. Now let me show you a couple arpeggio patterns for D that are really cool to play around with, and then where I actually like to go for the second chord that I was saying sounds like an E flat major 7 when you combine the bass note and then what Paige is doing. I'm going to have kind of a different spin on that, so I'll get to that in a second. Here are some options that are D-centered. The first, most obvious thing is that we can do a D major triad. You can do a D7 arpeggio. You can do a D7 with a flat 6. You can do a run that has the flat 2 and everything else included. You can do a D7 flat 9. You can do a D7 sharp 9. So already right there, there's a lot of really cool stuff. I love these augmented kind of patterns too, like that. And then, of course, the trick is to take some of these patterns that resonate with you, that you enjoy playing and that you like the sound of, and then map them out. So like everything I just did here, you could do up here, up here, up here. So do it all over the fretboard and just see what you like playing and what, you know, is enjoyable to you. Now for the next chord that happens, where I said Gordon's going to this E flat, and it sounds like an E flat major 7 of sorts, but there's a lot of movement in there, so I wouldn't get too pegged to that. But that kind of captures the sound. So for that one, I actually like playing more of C Dorian patterns, because think about it, if we're thinking of B flat as our home base in terms of the key center, even though D is the chord that gets all the gravity to it, it's coming from this B6 diminished scale. And so the 2 of B flat is C, and that would be Dorian. And so for example, even though it's counterintuitive, we could start with, let's say, a D7 arpeggio like that, and then slide up into a C minor or C Dorian kind of sound, and then back to the D. We could do it up here. Because the minor third of C, E flat, is also the flat 2 of D. One of the big takeaways here is that each note has its own unique relationship to every other note. So for example, that note E flat, it's the flat 2 of D, but it's also the minor third of C. And just knowing little things like that can help us to create these little patterns and motifs where maybe we toggle between one concept and another. And just really fun to play around with. To make a little exercise out of this, what I'm going to do is start up on the 12th fret with the D7 arpeggio, then I'm going to go down to a C minor 7, and then I'm going to keep going down, toggling between a D7 and a C minor 7, D7, C minor 7, and so on. There's another arpeggio I want to share that I really love playing around with this kind of vibe and this sound. And in this scenario, that would be a G minor major 7. One of the easiest ways to play a G minor major 7 is pinky finger on 10 of A, play a minor triad, but then bar the index so it hits the B string, and you get this really beautiful, kind of mysterious sounding thing. And another really nice, easy way to play it is up on 12 of G, like that. Now, of course, there are other ways you can do it, but those I think are the easiest under the fingers to play. So then maybe try going between D7 and G minor major 7, and then D7, and then G minor 7. And you can hear that it gets that vibe across again, that kind of outside sounding, tense, vibe. Really what it comes down to is finding some things that sound good to you, that you enjoy playing, and then just map them out across the fretboard. By the way, if you want to practice some of these arpeggios and scale patterns and stuff that we're getting into in this lesson, I made a free jam track, and there's a link in the description below, so don't forget to check that out. To kind of wrap up this lesson, I want to share a few key takeaways from looking at this jam. The first thing is look at the huge impact that changing one note can have on the overall sound. So whether you're looking at the difference between doing D mixolydian and then adding a minor 6 in there, or if you're thinking of it from the perspective of the B flat 6 diminished scale, we're just changing one thing here or there, and it has this big impact on the sound. And that ties into the next point, which is that your perspective matters a lot. You know, you could view this the way I've shared it. You could also have a completely different point of view where you're grabbing the D chord from one place and this E flat style chord from another place, and that's cool too. Your perspective matters a lot. You're kind of the center of your universe as a musician. So it comes down to choosing to see what you want to see and then mapping it out on the fretboard. And lastly, even though some of this stuff may seem like it's getting a little complicated, remember that it's just changing one thing here or there, just little tweaks along the way. If you stuck around to this point, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you got something out of this. Please consider becoming a member of the channel. Hit the join button. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to download the free jam track so you can practice along. And I'll see you soon. Thanks.